President, please be seated. The chamber is now back in session, and we hear the testimony of witness 2 TCW 823 related to the roles and positions of the accused. And related to TCW 823, the chamber notes that this witness was interviewed in an ongoing investigation in another case. However, the international investigating judge placed this witness in Group A among the 3 groups in his memorandum. Please refer to document E319/35 and request that for the purpose of maintaining confidentiality in the investigating, pseudonym shall be used for this witness. The chamber deems this limited measure is legally appropriate in this case. This instruction shall take into account the balance between the need for public hearings and the integrity of the investigation. The chamber reminds parties that they shall adhere strictly to its instruction in document E319/7 for the use of these documents that have been disclosed from other cases. And we should provided the duty counsel, Mr. Chan Sambo, as duty counsel for the witness. Court officers, please facilitate the witness together with the duty counsel into the courtroom. President, good afternoon, Mr. Witness. In the proceeding before the chamber, based on the request by the International Co-Investigating Judge, we will address you only by your pseudonym, and your pseudonym is TCW 823. And generally, parties will address you only as witness. Therefore, please be informed that the chamber as well as the parties will not be allowed to address you by your name. And the chamber would like to inform parties and the public that this witness cannot hear clearly. Therefore, the chamber assigned the duty counsel to assist the witness. And now the chamber would like you to identify your identity in document E3/9817, document in Khmer 0103399 and English 010404433. And please have a look at the information highlighted in orange. Court officers, please show the document to the duty counsel, and the duty counsel assists him in whispering the information to him. President, please hold on, Mr. Witness. Mr. Witness, you simply tell us whether the information whispered to you by the duty counsel is correct or not. If there is any part which is incorrect, please tell us or your duty counsel, so that we can rectify the errors. And if the informations are correct, please tell us that they are correct. So please tell us whether the information whispered to you by the duty counsel in document E3/9817 in whether the information is correct or not. Answer: yes, it's correct. I have 4 children and 1 adopted daughter. President, that's all right. The information you confirm is enough. Mr. Witness, based on the reports by the greffier, that to your best of knowledge, whether you are related by blood or by law to the 2 accused that are Nuon Chi and Khieu Sampon, and other individuals accepted as civil party in this case? Answer: no. Question: have you already taken an oath before you appeared in this courtroom? Answer: yes, I have already taken an oath. President, thank you. Now the chamber would like to inform you of your rights and obligations as a witness. Your rights: As a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you may refuse to respond any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you. That is your right against self-incrimination. Your obligations. As a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comment to those questions may incriminate you as the chamber has just informed you. You must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Mr. Witness, have you ever provided an interview or interviews with investigators from the office of the co-investigating judges? And if so, how many times those interviews took place and where? Answer. The interview took place at my home. Question. How many times you were interviewed? Answer. One time. President, thank you. Before you come to testify here, have you already been read by any individual about the interview you provided at your home in order to refresh your memory? Answer. Yes. They were reading. Question. So you have listened to the reading of your statements. Is that correct? Answer. Yes. Question. Based to your knowledge, can you tell us whether the statements that you were read to you are consistent with what you provided in the interview at your home? Answer. Yes. President, thank you. Pursuant to Rule 91 bis, the chamber provide the floor to the co-prosecutor to put question to this party first. The co-prosecutor, together with the lead co-lawyer for civil party, have two sessions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. Good afternoon, Counsel. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. My name is Andrew Boyle. I'm going to be asking you some questions today on behalf of the co-prosecutors. I'd first like you to tell us when it was that you joined the Khmer Rouge, when you joined the revolution.
I joined the revolution in 1970. That was during the year of the coup.
And what forces did you become part of at that time when you first joined?
Initially, I joined at the village level. I saw many villagers joined the military after Samdech Sihanouk was overthrown in a coup. Both male and female villagers joined the revolution, and the atmosphere was like a fun. So I also decided to join.
And did you join the sector-level forces in Kampot at some at some point in time?
Yes, I joined. President, in order to simplify the process, the Duty Council, the Chamber encouraged you to simply touch him in order to give him a signal that it's time to give the answer. So, Mr. Witness, please wait until your Duty Council touch you as a signal for you to give the answer.
When was it that you joined the sector-level forces in Kampot?
I joined in 1970.
And then were you transferred to the Southwest Zone forces at some point, and if so, when?
I was transferred to the Southwest. I cannot recall when I was transferred. But I participated in fighting against Phnom Penh government. I cannot recall the months it was. And I even cannot recall the year.
Were you transferred to the Southwest Zone forces prior to Phnom Penh being overthrown by the Khmer Rouge?
I came to Phnom Penh and after Phnom Penh collapsed, I was sent back to Kampong Saum.
Is it correct that you became part of Division 3 when you were transferred to the Southwest Zone forces?
Bad.
Yes.
You just mentioned that after the Phnom Penh was liberated, you were sent back to Kampong Som. Did you actually enter Phnom Penh after it was liberated?
I participated in liberating Phnom Penh, and after the city was liberated, I was sent back to Kampong Saum.
And how long did you stay in Phnom Penh before you were sent to Kampong Som after Phnom Penh was liberated?
I was with Division 3. I cannot recall how long I was in the city. I was there probably for half a month or even less than that.
And when you were transferred back to Kampong Som, were you transferred along with the rest of Division 3?
Bad.
Yes.
Bad.
Yes.
And at some point after Division 3 was transferred back to Kampong Som, was it united with other forces and turned into a new division called Division 164.
No, it was not integrated. Yes, there was integration of a unit from the East Zone. It was one regiment.
And at that time, was Division 3, was the unit that Division 3 was part of, was it named Division 164?
Yes.
What position did you first assume when you were transferred to Kampong Som from Phnom Penh?
I was part of the battalion.
Can you tell us which battalion you were part of?
It was battalion 560.
Is it correct that battalion 560 was part of Regiment 63 in Division 164?
Yes.
And were you the commander of that battalion?
I was the commander of battalion 560.
As the commander of that battalion, what were you assigned to do when you first arrived in Kampong Som after leaving Phnom Penh?
My battalion was based at Koh Seh and Koh Thmai.
Just to refresh your memory, Mr. Witness, in your DC CAM statement, you mentioned that you were based on those islands. You first say, however, at E3/9069, English ERN 009-69927, and Khmer 009-26305.
President, could you please read the EON number slowly, and if possible, please read them twice so that the interpreters can follow your reading?
Certainly, Mr. President. It's English ERN 009-69927. That's 009-69927. And Khmer 009-26305. 009-26305. Mr. Witness, this is what you said, quote, I stayed at Kang Keng. After a day or two, I went to stay on an island and remained staying there. Question, what were you asked to do during the period you stayed at Kang Keng? Answer, I reorganized the forces and made them ready for traveling to the island, close quote. Does that refresh your memory that prior to being deployed to those islands, you spent a couple of days organizing the forces in Kang Keng?
បាទបាទ
Yes,
ខ្ញុំបានរៀបចំកម្លាំង
I reorganized my force, and it took a few days before we departed for the islands.
Can you tell the court what that organization or that preparation for deploying to the islands consisted of?
រៀប
Regarding the organization of force to the islands, we organized guns, ammunitions, food supply, like rice, and also the engine boats in order to transport the force.
And how many soldiers were in your battalion?
មាន300
There were 300 of them.
And were all 300 of them deployed to either Kose or Kotamai?
បាទបាទ
Yes.
And as for yourself, did you stay on one or the other of the islands, or did you move between them?
ភាគច្រើនខ្ញុំនៅ
Most of the time, I was based at Kose because Kose was adjacent to Kohtral.
Does that mean that you would also occasionally go over to Koh Tamai to carry out your obligations in regards to being the commander of the troops there as well?
បាទបាទ
Yes.
And was your battalion stationed on those islands until either the end of 1978 or early 1979?
បាទចិត្ត
I cannot recall the months. We remained there until 1978, 79,
មិន
Thank
ទៅ
you.
ចាំដែរ
but I cannot recall it very well. I'm a bit forgetful now.
That's no problem, Mr. Witness. Can you tell the court why was your battalion deployed to those islands? What was the purpose of your battalion being there?
The first purpose was to protect the frontier because that island belongs to us.
And were there any other purposes beyond that?
There was no specific purpose to invade other countries, but we had to protect our own territory at the time. We intended to protect our territory and frontier if they had come to attack and invade us, we had to counterattack and defend our territory.
And can you tell us what type of weapons and equipment did you have in order to protect those islands?
We had artillery, 37 mm artillery, and also 22 mm artillery. And also the 75 mm artillery. In addition to that, we had 106 mm artillery, 12.7 mm, and pistols, as well as the combat boat.
And how many combat boats did you have?
There was one 400 cc combat boat and 22 horsepower one and 32 one, and DK 82 was also there on the island.
And I believe you've mentioned already that these islands were very close to Cotral, which was occupied by Vietnamese forces at the time. Is that correct?
Kosse and Kotmei, in fact, there were no Vietnamese on the Kosse and Kotmei. They were stationed at Cotral. They could not approach Kosse, but these islands were close to one another.
And could you see the Vietnamese forces on Cotral? Were they close enough that you would be able to see them when you were on Kosse?
We could see them from some points.
And did your troops ever engage in fighting with the Vietnamese troops while you were based on those islands?
That is true.
Did this fighting take place on the islands or at sea or both?
Generally speaking, the Vietnamese came with their fishing boats, but those boats were mounted with weapons. They came as close to Koh Riem and Kosse. So the attack was unavoidable Usually, the Vietnamese forces attacked us first, and we had to counter-attack. Some soldiers were injured and also died.
You just mentioned fishing boats with weapons on them. Did Vietnamese military boats ever enter what you consider to be Cambodian waters?
The large ship or the warship did not come into our water. But usually their boats crossed into our maritime frontiers, and there was fighting.
And would your boats ever cross what you considered to be the maritime frontier and enter into what you understood to be Vietnamese waters?
President, you may now proceed, Copper.
Yes, Mr. President. I'm not sure if it's an observation or an objection. Let's make it an objection. The questions so far are always relating to the witness as to as to what he considered to be the maritime borders. I'm not sure that would be relevant for a Division 164 battalion commander. Maritime boundaries are not subject to personal opinions or whatever this particular witness perceived the boundaries to be. I think the question would be more appropriate. What was considered by the naval authorities to be the boundaries, or what was considered by the DK government to be the proper boundaries. If you would compare it, I will not be asked what the boundaries are of my country. These are in itself objectively to be measured standards. So I think this particular question in this way cannot be asked to that witness.
I'll just respond briefly, Mr. President. At the time, the basis for my putting the questions as such is that at the time there was actually a fair amount of dispute between Vietnam and the Democratic Kampuchea government about where the relevant boundaries should be drawn. It's possible that that the witness's beliefs as to where those maritime boundaries were drawn differed even from where the government of Democratic Kampuchea believes that they were drawn. And so as a fact witness, I'm merely asking him to explain his perspective about when various forces would cross what he considered to be the line of demarcation between Vietnamese and Cambodian waters.
But just if I briefly may respond, to give an example, we're not asking the witness what he considers to be the capital of Cambodia. That is Phnom Penh. That can be objectively said. The dispute can also be objectively described. Whatever the personal views of this witness was in respect of the boundaries of Cô Trao, or whether Cô Trao was Vietnamese, or rather what I think most Cambodians still think Cambodian, that should be the issue, and not whatever his personal belief is.
I think we are getting into pleading now. The prosecution has made it clear that it is asking for the personal opinion of the witness. If you think other opinions are important, or if you want to question it, do it when it's your turn. I don't see a problem with the question. It's clear what it is.
Thank you, Judge Fens. I believe I had just asked you, Mr. Witness, whether your troops ever crossed what you considered to be the maritime border between Cambodian and Vietnamese waters and entered into Vietnamese territory by boat.
អត់ទេអត់មាន
No.
Mr. Witness, I'd like to read to you something you said in your DC CAM statement. This is E3/9069, English ERN 009-69934-35. That's 009-69934-35. And Khmer 009-263 11 to 12, 009-263 11 to 12. Mr. Witness, this is what you said, quote, question, how did you fight? Did you shell each other? Sometimes shelling did not reach the island, so we fought by sea. We used our 37 or 60 typed boats. Question, does it mean you went on your boat and they came by their boat and you fought each other? Yes. Sometimes we encountered and fought them. We were guarding the islands. If they came and breached our perimeter, we would fight them. Likewise, if we breached their perimeter, they would attack us. We attacked them only when they came deep inside our perimeter. Then you're asked, when you clashed with Vietnamese, who started first? Answer, when they encroached on our territory, we attacked them first. If we encroached on their territory, they would shell us with their 105mm cannon from the island, close quote. Mr. Witness, does that refresh your memory that on occasion you also encroached on what you considered to be Vietnamese territory, or your troops did?
Regarding entering the maritime boundary of Vietnam, we never invaded their boundary. At Cát Sê and Cát Mai, the boundary was divided equally to Vietnam and Cambodia. We would drive our boats within our boundary, not crossing into other boundary. And the Vietnamese troops would also do the same. But sometimes the problem caused by the fishing boat, Vietnamese fishing boat mounted with weapons, they came deep into our water, they fired at us, and we had to shell them back. When we went close to our boundary, sometimes we would be attacked by those boats.
When you were first deployed to those islands, how well did you know where the relevant maritime boundary was?
When I was posted there on Cát Sê, there had been forces already there and we had to maintain our status quo, that is to protect our boundary, and we never crossed to the other side of Cotral boundary. Since we knew that Vietnam's forces were already there. Back then, we had no intention to seize back the island.
I'd like to read to you from another quote from your DC CAM statement. This is E3/9069, English ERN 009-699-34 to 35, and Khmer 009-263-11 to 12. You're asked, what was the law of the sea like at the time? And you answer, no, there was no law of the sea at the time. It was so recent, and we determined the known perimeter by ourselves. Close quote. Is that correct, what you told to DC CAM?
Regarding the actual boundary on the sea, in fact, we based it on the map. So we depended on the map. That is what we knew. We had no expertise on how to demark the boundary.
And where did you obtain?
Rather, to demarcate the boundary.
And where did you obtain this map from that you were relying on?
We obtained the map from the divisional headquarters. We were given by them.
And during the years that you were based on those islands, did you frequently fight with Vietnamese forces?
Ban.
It happened once in a while.
Did your forces ever capture any Vietnamese persons, either on land or at sea, when you were there?
My unit never arrested and captured the Vietnamese. We were posted close to the mainland. The Vietnamese who were evacuated to the foreign countries and never used the routes close to my post.
Did you ever learn about or hear about other units of Regiment 63 capturing Vietnamese persons near the islands?
Regarding the arrests of Vietnamese citizens, to my knowledge, nothing that did not happen.
I'd like to see if I can refresh your memory. This is the written record of interview E3/9675. This is another member of Division 164. Answer 6. quote, Regiment 63 under Ta Nan operated on Kosei, Koh Ante, and Kokiang. They did not have warships, but had motorboats for transportation purposes. Those soldiers captured anyone who entered Kampuchean territorial waters within their areas of operation. When military on the islands captured those people, they sent them to the mainland, and they always brought the captured ashore at the Auchotil port where I worked. Close quote. Mr. Witness, does that refresh your memory of hearing about Vietnamese being captured on the islands and sent to the mainland at Auchotil port?
My island, in fact, on my island, in fact, we never captured anyone, but there were injuries. Before I was posted at their location, in fact, there was another unit there, and they left after being there for 3 or 4 days. I myself never captured any boats, but we did fire at each other.
At the time that Division 3 became part of Division 164, do you recall if your battalion 560, whether it also was changed to a different number?
Yes.
Can you tell the court the name of your new battalion number?
First, the battalion 565 from Sector 5, and that was integrated with another battalion, and later on a new code was assigned.
Do you recall whether Battalion 560, which you commanded, came to be named Battalion 633 at some point?
No.
How many battalions were there in Regiment 63?
There were 3 battalions.
Do you remember the names of the heads of those other 2 battalions that were in Regiment 63 with you?
I can recall their names. Wade was the head of Battalion 530, and as for 540, it was Sari. And I was in charge of 560. Some heads were sent to the Navy.
believe I heard you say that Vet was the commander of Battalion 530. Is that Ung Vet?
I cannot recall his surname. His name is Vin. Not Vin, Wayne. Wait.
Was Vet removed at some point? Do you recall?
I simply knew that later on Wade was removed, or he may have been reassigned to another location or battalion. That is all I know.
Do you recall when that occurred?
I have no idea. I was posted on my island. We were far apart. Later on, I heard that he was reassigned to work in another unit. I did not recall when that happened.
Mr. Witness, we have in our case file a list of prisoners from the S-21 prison in Phnom Penh. This is E3/10604. Entry number 2368 is Kung Kien alias Ung Vet, Secretary of Battalion 631, Division 164, entered S-21 April 1977. Does that refresh your memory that it was sometime around April 1977 that he was removed from one of the other battalions in Regiment 63?
I did not have the information as to the years when that happened, when he was removed from his battalion. I did not know where he went afterwards.
During the time that you were posted on the islands, would you ever attend any meetings in Kampong Som? That is, would you ever travel to the mainland to attend any meetings?
Yes, I came to attend a meeting or meetings at the divisional headquarters.
Approximately how often would you attend such meetings?
I could not tell you how often it was. Sometimes I would come once a month. And on some special circumstances, which were very necessary when the situation was chaotic on the island, I did not have time to come and attend the meeting.
When you did attend these meetings, who would speak at these meetings?
Tamut, and when Tamut was absent, Brother Dam.
And is it correct that the Mut that you mentioned was the secretary of Division 164, and Brother Din was his deputy. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did Son Sen ever attend these meetings?
I never attended meetings when Sun Sen was present. I never met him.
Did you ever see him in Kampong Som?
Never.
Try to refresh your memory from your DC CAM statement E3/9069 English 009-699-57-58 Khmer 009-263-38. Mr. Witness, you're asked, did Son Sen come to Kampong Som? Answer, he did. Question, did you see him? Answer, I saw him. Question, do you recognize his face? Answer, I do. Close quote. Do you recall saying that when you spoke with the DC CAM organization?
When I said that I used to see him, it was when I saw him at Phnom Penh. Regarding the meetings when he attended with Tamut and Tadum, I never saw him there. I may have mistakenly answered the question about that.
And can you elaborate on what events you saw him at in Phnom Penh?
I came to Phnom Penh to attend a study session at Olympic Stadium. It was at the location when I saw his face. He was sitting and working at his desk at the military's headquarters.
Okay, we'll come in just a moment to those study sessions. I'd first, though, like to go back to the meetings that Tamut and Din would share in Kampong Som. Can you tell the court what was discussed at those meetings?
The contents of the meeting included the protection of boundary and the defense of the country, and also protection of islands. And politics, education were mentioned. We were instructed to comply with the disciplines. And the topic of hygiene, economy were also discussed, and we were informed and advised how to protect ourselves from being bitten by mosquitoes.
Just a few moments ago, you mentioned a training session that you attended in Phnom Penh. Do you recall when that training session took place?
When I saw him in Phnom Penh, that was after Phnom Penh was liberated. It was probably in 1976. It was that year that I came to Phnom Penh.
And how long did you stay in Phnom Penh when you came to the training session?
I stayed in Phnom Penh for about 3 or 4 days.
What did you do during those 3 or 4 days? What did the training session consist of?
In the study session, it's about the defense and the construction of the country. And the most important issue was about the defense of the country. Troops deployed at frontiers, borderline areas, including land and maritime border, had to focus on that. And issues about economy and the supply of food to the frontline soldiers were also included. Those include rice, so these were the topics or issues introduced during the study session.
And who spoke at these study sessions? Who was teaching these study sessions?
The Phnom Penh study session was conducted in 1976, and it was Pol Pot who spoke.
You mentioned that you saw Son Sen at this meeting as well. Did he speak?
No, he didn't.
Did Pol Pot speak for the whole 3 or 4 days, or did anyone else speak as well?
Only Pol Pot. For other individuals like Son Sen, they were on the side.
Did you ever see Khieu Samphan when you were in Kampong Som?
I did not see Khieu Samphan clearly in Kampong Saum. But when I was there, he came by a vehicle, and people who worked there said that the vehicle belonged to Khieu Samphan. But I did not see his face. It was just the assumption from seeing the vehicle.
And were you transferred in late 1978 to work in Phnom Penh at some point?
Yes, I was transferred to Phnom Penh.
And do you recall when you were transferred to Phnom Penh? What month in 1978?
បាទខ្ញុំអត់ចាំ
I cannot recall the date. At that time, I came for a short while. I was in the city for about 10 days or less than that.
Were you in Phnom Penh until the Vietnamese entered, or very shortly before that?
បាទដល់វៀតណាម
I was in the city until the Vietnamese came and then I left.
In your DC CAM, a correction that you made to your DC CAM statement, your original DC CAM statement, was E3/9069, and you made a correction. I believe the E3 number that was given this morning is E39870A. This is English ERN 013133342, Khmer 010339988, and French 013089661. You said that you came to Phnom Penh by late December. Does that sound accurate, that you were in Phnom Penh in December at some point and remained there for perhaps less than a month before the Vietnamese arrived?
No, it was less than 1 month when the Vietnamese arrived. But I cannot recall the months when I came to the city. And I stayed in the city for roughly less than 10 days. And then the Vietnamese came in. I organized the labor force to be evicted out of the city. I did not know very well about factories location at that time. When I arrived in the city, I was confused about the direction and locations.
You touched upon what I just wanted to ask you about. You mentioned organizing the labor force to be evacuated. Can you explain a bit more? What was the reason that you were transferred from Kampong Som to Phnom Penh? What was your function supposed to be there in Phnom Penh?
At that time, the Vietnamese were advancing toward Phnom Penh. So I was tasked to control the industry place in order to organize the labor force at various factories in order to tell them in case the Vietnamese arrive, they would have to flee in the direction of the west toward Battambang. Bong.
In your DC CAM statement, E3/9069, English ERN 009699949, Khmer 00926328, you said the following, quote, "I was simply appointed. At that time, the situation in Phnom Penh was rather unstable, so workers had to be managed not to rebel," close quote. Did you tell that to DC CAM, and if so, can you explain what you meant about why workers had to be managed not to rebel?
បាទបញ្ហា
Regarding that matter, we had to prepare ourselves. The first preparation was about the advancement of the Vietnamese troops toward Phnom Penh, and the second preparation was about the rebellion by the workers in Phnom Penh. At that time, I did not bring along with me my soldiers. I myself came to Phnom Penh.
And were you informed or told why it was believed the workers would rebel?
បាទបញ្ហាដែលកម្មករ
Regarding the workers' rebellion, in fact, they did not mention that, but when we observed the situation, it was unstable. So I had to stabilize the workers' force. And when time comes, they had to be evacuated to according to different direction that we planned for them to flee. But regarding whether there was a rebellion taking place or not, I did not know. It was simply a policy that were taken as a precaution, because we had a policy to make sure that we unify the force. In fact, I did not even have the opportunity to educate them. I simply arrived for a brief period of time, and then the Vietnamese arrived in the city.
And did you encounter Khieu Samphan while you were in Phnom Penh?
បាទបានជួប
Yes, I met him.
Where did you meet him?
ខ្ញុំមិនចាំ
I do not recall where I met him, because I rarely came to Phnom Penh since my childhood. I met him in Phnom Penh, and we focused on the preparation of force according to our planned directions, because now the Vietnamese troops were approaching the city.
Was he the one giving you the instructions, your instructions about how to carry out your work?
បាទមានគៀម
Yes, it was Khieu Samphan.
Were there other people present when you met with him, or did you meet with him one-on-one?
ក្នុងដែលខ្ញុំ
During the time I met him, there was another person by the name Chum, who was already there and met with Khieu Samphan. But I got separated from him and never saw him again.
How many times did you meet with Khieu Samphan in the period that you were in Phnom Penh?
បានតែម្ដង
Only one time.
And can you tell us anything further about what he instructed at the time that you met him?
ណែនាំ
As I told you earlier, that Kim Sampon told me to prepare our forces to be evacuated to the forest, that if Vietnamese came in and then we would have forces to struggle against them in the forest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, I have no further questions.
President, thank you. The floor is now given to the lead co-lawyer for civil party. Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Your Honors and parties, and good afternoon, Mr. Witness. My name is Bach Ong, the lead co-lawyer for civil party. I have one point that I would like to ask you that is related to the issues of your marriage. Can you tell us what year it was that you got married? Answer. In 1976. Question. When you got married, did you know your wife before your wedding? Answer. Yes, I knew her before my wedding. Question. What about your wife? Did she know you before the wedding? Did she ever see you before the wedding? Answer. Yes, she saw me. Question. How long it was that you agreed with each other before your wedding was arranged? Answer. It was a short time. Question. Can you tell us how short it was? For how many days or how many weeks that you agreed with each other that you would get married and then your marriage took place? Answer. In fact, I saw my wife long time ago, but I made some requests through the regiment, and the regiment chiefs agreed, and the wedding took place. Question. When you said about agreement from the regiment, whether the agreement came from the chief of the regiment or from the individual person? Answer. From the individual person. Question. Did both of you love each other before your wedding? Answer. Before our marriage, we did not have any love relationship. We simply asked each other whether we agreed to marry each other. But we had no love relationship. Question. How many couples were arranged to marry on the same day with you? Answer. There were many, around 30 couples or even more than that. There were probably 40 couples. I cannot recall the exact number of couples. Question. What about the background of other couples? Were they also soldiers or cadres or what else? Answer. They were soldiers and cadres and youths. Question. Were there any couples who were disabled soldiers? Answer. Yes, there were 2 disabled soldiers, including myself. Question. Concerning those who were arranged to marry with the disabled soldiers like you, whether their respective superiors encouraged them to marry the disabled soldiers, whether they say something? Answer. I did not know. There was a disabled soldier from a regiment, and his wife was from a battalion. All of them died already. Question. Who presided over the wedding, and whether there was any instruction given to the couples on the wedding day? Answer. Yes, there were. The respective chiefs presided over the wedding ceremony. For example, at the division level, there were Tamut and Dum, or sometimes people from the regiment level. Question. Did they talk or speak about something? If you can recall those words. Answer. They encouraged us to build our life and to love each other. Question. Did they talk about the fact that you should try to produce children? Answer. During my wedding day, they did not mention that, but as part of their policy at the upper level, they had such a plan. Question. So when you mention that the upper level had a policy to increase the force, that means through increasing children. Is that correct? Answer. Yes, that was the policy from the upper echelon down to the local level, that we had to increase our force in order to defend our country, that only when we had enough force that we can defend our country. President, Council, do you still have many questions? But Mr. President, I still have only a few more questions to put. President, please hold on because we need to change the disc. President, the lead co-lawyer for civil party, please continue with your questions. But now allow me to repeat my question, because what you answered perhaps were not yet translated into French, and my international colleague has not heard the answer yet. You talked about the upper echelon. What did the upper echelon talk or speak about regarding the policy of marriage? For example, why the marriage needed to be arranged? Answer. The upper echelon arranged the marriage, but I did not know about the details. It was contradicted to the tradition. I don't know whether the wedding was organized according to foreign culture, but it was different from Khmer tradition. Question. A while ago, you mentioned that the wedding was an initiative or idea from the upper echelon whose purpose was to increase the force to defend the country. So can you tell us whether what you have mentioned was really written down in any documents or were mentioned in any meetings that you attended? Answer. The information I received from my superiors. We received the information down the chain of command, from the upper echelon down to the division level and then down to the other levels. Question. Did you ever know or participate in other marriage that were arranged, and those marriage similar to yours? Answer. I did not grasp it. Question. Mr. Witness, I concluded my question, and thank you, Mr. President. President, the floor is given to Council Victor Koppe. President, please turn on your mic.
Yes. A brief question about the scheduling. Is it foreseeable that the expert who is planned for Wednesday might actually already come tomorrow? Because that is something that we really need to know.
President, thank you. The Chamber has not informed you because the Chamber has just received the information. The expert can come to testify tomorrow. So tomorrow, after we conclude the testimony, hearing the testimony of this witness, we will continue to hear the testimony of the expert to TCE 1062.
បាទហើយសកម្មភាព
President, it is now convenient time for the adjournment. The chamber will resume its hearing tomorrow, Tuesday, 13 December 2016 at 9 a.m. And we conclude the hearing of the testimony of 2TCW 823, and we will hear the testimony of expert 2TCE 1062. Thank you, Mr. Witness. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has not yet concluded. You are therefore invited to come back tomorrow. The Chamber also would like to thank Mr. Chang Sambo, the duty counsel, for spending your time here, and we would like to invite you to come back again tomorrow. Court officer, in collaboration with Visu, please make necessary transport arrangement to send him to his accommodation, and please bring him back to testify tomorrow. Security personnel are instructed to bring Khieu Sampon and Noon Jie back to the detention facility and have them returned to the courtroom tomorrow morning before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.